Yeah, so as you can see, the review is going to have to be delayed, as apparently I've become invisible. I'm not quite sure how. Maybe there's something in that Coke I drank, I don't know. I mean, it was glowing purple, but that's not really anything new. But either way, no video this week. You gone? Whew. I really didn't think that would work. I mean, the last thing I want to do is review this movie. So lucky they're all a bunch of gullible SO. Oh, god damn it. For those of you who haven't seen my review of the first Invisible Mom movie, let me briefly recap. A scientist's father discovers a formula that can make people invisible after testing it on his dog because
he's an asshole.
The formula is then stolen by his evil boss because for some reason he put it in the lab's outgoing mail section where his boss could easily steal it, whilst at the same time his son Josh wants to use the formula to sneak out to the movies to save his would-be love interest from a bully. And I say would-be love interest because she's seen once at the beginning of the movie and then never seen again. It's a recurring theme in these movies, apparently. The formula ends up being drunk by the eponymous mom, and for the rest of the movie, lots of dumb things happen because both the characters and the scripts are so stupid that if you told someone you would come up with this idea, there would only be one response.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
So you can see now why I'd want to avoid reviewing the second movie at all costs. I mean, if the first one didn't manage to kill off a fair few of my brain cells, imagine what the second one will do. It'd be like a sledgehammer lobotomy. But I wouldn't be much of a reviewer if I ran away from every crap movie I came across now, would I? So, let's look at Invisible Mom 2. We open the movie on a couple of shots that try to make it seem like this movie had some sort of budget in comparison to the original. Which it probably did. You know, a whole $2 instead of $1. Here we get to meet Gomez and Morticia. I mean...
Olivia. Bernie.
The name is Bernard, Uncle Randolph.
Ah, one of those guys?
You know exactly how much money I've got, right?
3.24 billion in cash and liquid assets.
I expected you'd know it right down to the last penny.
Is there anything that we might do to ease your suffering?
I guess there is, girl. Come closer, both of you. I'm not going to leave you one thin dime.
In fact, what he's actually going to leave you is...
a boot to the head.
A what? Ow!
Actually, given Uncle Randolph's obvious disdain for the pair, I'm amazed that's not what he's actually left them. The gruesome twosome learn that all of Uncle Randolph's money will be left to someone else, as we get an exposition bomb so huge, it makes the voiceovers between scenes in The Last Airbender look subtle in comparison.
You both know about Mr. St. John's only son dying in a car accident 12 years ago.
Of course we know about that. Cut to the chase.
Even though he hadn't spoken with his father in over a year, he still was sole beneficiary to Randolph St. John's estate. Until the accident, of course.
All right. Forget the chase. Cut to the credits.
Hey, if I have to sit through all this crap, then you do as well. And if you're wondering, yes, this lawyer may be the biggest idiot on the planet. As Randolph obviously knew that they wanted his money, and was going to great lengths, obviously, to avoid them getting it, and yet here he is blabbing about who will be getting it. I mean, it would almost be as stupid as the lawyers say, giving them the information later on, so that they can go and find the boy and try to kill him. Oh god, he does that, doesn't he?
It's not possible.
Sorry to be a spoilsport, but there he is. Edward Brown, or should I say Edward St. John, the sole heir to the family fortune.
Not off to a good start here, movie. With their inheritance at stake, we learn a little more about what lengths the pair will go to get it.
I knew this would come back to haunt us one day. You were supposed to take care of that little brat.
I cut the brake lines to the car.
Keep your voice down.
I arranged the accident.
I swear, these two couldn't be more like cartoon villains if they tried. And they really do try. But for now, let's enjoy Bernard for some reason turning and looking over his shoulder at the door 3 times in the same scene.
She knew we'd come after that baby.
What's done is done. We need to do some damage control.
If that investigator finds that little brat, we're done for.
Perhaps not, brother. Accidents happen all the time. You could say that they run in the family.
Dear sister, I love the way you think.
Because I can tell you now, if you like actions being repeated or lines being repeated, then you'll really enjoy this movie. We move on to the opening credits, which look really familiar. Are you kidding me, movie? Are you seriously? That's how your title card appears? Really? My god, can you imagine if that happened in Lord of the Rings?
Much that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it.
Though there is a possible reason for the title card being so abrupt. There are some speculations that this film was originally shot under the title Mom's Out of Sight, a film that came out the year before this one did, under the same director and writer. The theory goes that the 2 film titles were for some reason switched at the last minute, thus resulting in the strange dropped-in title card instead of anything resembling the original. Which to me makes no sense. Why would you switch titles on a movie when you've got the exact same plot and cast as the original? Why call one Mom's Out of Sight when it should literally be Invisible Mom 2? Though, of course, the movie's box cover does have the eponymous title character on an exercise machine, with a cat and a little girl who obviously just realised she's on the box cover to Invisible Mom 2 staring at her. It just essentially makes me think that no part of this movie was in good hands. The opening credits continue looking eerily familiar, mainly because they're the original movie's titles. I mean, listen, they even used the same music. Which is why it's always important to have a solid budget behind your movie. I mean, if you'd had a $3, who knows? You might have been able to buy an extra opening track. Moving on, we meet the heir to the St. John fortune, Eddie, at an orphanage, where he's about to meet some prospective parents.
No, Edward, I'm your mummy.
You are and wait for rent. Intruder. Where you are. Wait for rent. Intruder. You have...
I'm terribly sorry about all this, Mrs. Robbins.
Is it just me, or does she look weirdly familiar?
You say that like it's a great sale day. Look at my face! Do you still think it's a great sale day?
And good to know that Justin BERFIELD was essentially typecasted when he ended up in Malcolm in the Middle a few years later. Moving on to the Griffin household. Okay, cheap joke, I know, but it's the only time I'll make it. We find Carl working in his lab.
Well, Dad, Josh, hand me that test tube.
Good God, what the hell happened to Trenton Knight? He's huge! Actually, I'm now worried that Carl may have been testing growth formulas on Josh. I mean, I don't see that dog anywhere. The film drops what could be seen as a subtle reference to the original film, if later on they didn't recap the whole first movie, thus making this line redundant.
Care for a sip?
Oh, gee, you know, after what happened the last time I accidentally drank one of your experiments, I don't think so.
But before we can take that load of exposition, we've got to take an entirely different load of exposition. Sort of an exposition bukkake of sorts.
Randolph St. John still clings to life in the desperate hope of being reunited with the grandson he's never known.
What?
Albert Preston, the St. John family attorney, has been charged with the task of locating the young man.
Ah, it's fine. This woman's not important to the film. I mean, you know, she's just Eddie's mother. And it obviously does seem strange that this character only appears in 3 scenes, with one being completely pointless because all it does is reiterate what we actually learnt in this scene. Which leads me to believe that the writer of this movie may have had 2 slight mental conditions. The first one being OCD, given the fact that Bernard and Olivia cannot stop repeating about how they're going to kill Eddie in a variety of different ways, and the other one is short-term memory loss. As most of the other support characters who appear in the movie, like the lawyer, the cops, and an old lady, are all introduced but don't really do anything but appear briefly to pad out things between scenes before disappearing from the movie altogether. Laura is contacted by the orphanage about fostering Eddie.
Is this about another foster child?
Yes. Your family did such a wonderful job with the last 2 young people that I placed in your care that I was wondering, would you be so inclined to take on a new foster child?
But I can't help wondering why Mrs. Hattigan here is making this phone call outside. I mean, that's a terrible business practice. Everyone can hear any private conversation you might want to have. Although, it does look like a rather nice day, so why shouldn't everyone enjoy it?
You know, we're all lucky to be alive on such a beautiful day. In fact, nurse, all surgeries are outside today.
However, the phone call does reveal one little issue still plaguing Laura.
A 12-year-old boy.
Is he gonna stay with us?
How do you feel about that, honey? Honey?
What the hell was that noise? Did the sound guy catch D. Wallace queefing? Back with Wednesday and Pugsley, they're informed that Uncle Randolph has just died, and I'm sure they will do nothing at all suspicious to draw attention to themselves.
I'll send you my bill.
Yes, please do.
I mean, for fuck's sake, you might as well have just had them singing the Money song from Tom and Jerry.
Money is such a beautiful word.
I know.
It soars in my mind like a beautiful bird.
I know.
And even then, they'd still be more cartoonish. They learn of Eddie and his whereabouts from the lawyer and instantly say that they want to adopt him. Which is weird enough already, given that they're brother and sister, not a couple, and that Eddie is their cousin. And it's made even weirder when you think about the ages involved here. I mean, Uncle Randolph was somewhere around 70, they're both around their 50s, and Eddie's 12. I mean, honestly, it sounds like a terrible sitcom. Can an evil brother and sister pair do away with their cousin and inherit billions of dollars? Find out this summer in What the Fuck Is This Shit? Also, what money have they been living on exactly for the last 50 years? As neither ever appears to have a job, and surely Uncle Randolph didn't just keep giving them money when he obviously knew that's what they were after. So once again, I find myself asking, why did he not just leave them a boot to the head?
What? And one more for the win.
Eddie's introduced to the Griffin family, and I'm sure now they'll have lots of hijinks keeping Laura's secret from Eddie.
I can tell you and I are gonna get along just fine. But there is something I ought to tell you. Weird things happen here sometimes.
Weird things? Like what?
Well, like sometimes when my mom gets a little stressed and her blood pressure goes up, she turns invisible.
Invisible? No way.
What the hell, man? What the actual hell?
Or they can tell him straight away and destroy the chances of anything interesting. Which is then followed by the retelling of the plot from the first movie, including one added bit of information.
And then I wanted to use the formula later, so I hid it in a soda bottle. Then my mom found the soda bottle, and well, you can guess what happened next.
Wait a minute, so if that was your plan, then why the hell did you just leave the bottle in the basement for your mother to find and drink? I mean, seriously, it's thinking like that that causes me to go on a rant during the first movie about why this plan was stupid. Eddie is oddly calm with all of this information, maybe because he's just gotten the Miyazaki disease and everything strange to him just suddenly seems exciting. Whilst a little later, Laura and Carl have a brief and extremely uninteresting conversation, which I guess is meant to pass for some kind of characterization.
Better be careful talking up a woman like that. Could get you into more trouble than you bargained for.
Mrs. Griffin, I thrive on trouble.
You just remember that till I get back. I'm going to say goodnight to the boys.
Hurry.
That's the face of a man who's trying to remember where they hid the KY jelly and the strap-on. Laura goes to tuck Josh and Eddie in, who are apparently sleeping in the same bed. It's going to make it really awkward for Josh when he has to masturbate. Though thinking about it, in a previous scene, they did say that they'd had 2 foster kids before Eddie, which I'm guessing must have all slept in a bed with Josh, and Josh seemed weirdly happy about suddenly resharing his bed with another child. Josh ended up on a sex offender list at some point in the future, didn't he? Back with Dastardly and Muttley in the zone of eternal thunder and lightning, given them for the first time in history, a storm has apparently persisted not just for several days, but made it perpetually night as well, which sounds like a plot to the Twilight Zone, but isn't.
I can't go through with it, Olivia. I can't send this poor child to a cold, early grave. Goodbye, dear sister.
Booga, booga, booga. Which just goes to show you the benefits of practical effects. I mean, it looked so real, except for the fact that there was no blood and that he stood up and that you're an idiot. But given that this movie can only be career suicide, it does seem only fitting that a character would commit it on screen as well. It turns out that the guillotine is just one of many possible ways for them to get rid of Eddie, because, once again, cartoon villains. But unfortunately, Olivia's screams were overheard by some old lady who IMDb lists only as Mrs. Chandler, which I don't even know if I can trust. Because it also lists Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, the voice of the 5th Mitsukage from Naruto, and Connie's mother from Steven Universe, as being in this movie. But God only knows who she actually is in this movie. Maybe she's actually the little girl on the box cover. Mrs. Chandler inquires about the screams, as Bebop and Rocksteady here seem to talk to her as if they've known her perfectly for years.
Really? Rehearsing for what?
A scene. A scene we're doing for Uncle's funeral tomorrow.
Yes, he was such a fan of the theater that we thought we would share a scene from his favorite play with the attendees. And what play would that be?
Well, at the moment it is starting to feel like a play by Jean-Paul Sartre. Or after they get to break out that sort of joke. Also, why is Mrs. Chandler dressed exactly the same as the nosy neighbour from the previous film? It almost made me think it was the same actress. But, of course, nobody would be stupid enough to appear in 2 different Invisible Mom movies. We move on to... I'm not really sure what you would call it. I mean, you can't call it a montage because of the way the scenes are set up. It's more like compression, as the movie does the exact same thing 3 times in a row. It shows Eddie have good intentions but ultimately screws things up, which is narratively stupid anyway in this sort of thing, as this should be spread out evenly or quickly gotten through to make the point. But then the other problem is that it has nothing to do with anything, as the movie has attempted to portray Eddie as bright but unfocused, putting his intelligence into being bad. And by attempted, I do mean straight up told the audience.
Why can't you direct your intelligence in other more constructive ways? One would think you don't want to be adopted.
Which almost feels ironic, given the fact that basically the way this character should develop is exactly the way that Reese's character would develop in Malcolm in the Middle. Though he certainly must be intelligent, I mean in the opening he was able to get a sucker dart to perfectly hit one switch and not any others, and was able to fill a bowl with slime when in the previous shot it had nothing in. Miss Hattigan reappears along with Kang and Kodos, who immediately state they want to take Eddie away. Because who cares how the law would work in this situation? Also, Olivia makes this face.
We were unaware of your existence.
And I'm not sure why that was put in there, but that almost looks like the expression of someone who's just had the quietest orgasm known to mankind. Miss Hattigan leaves the scene, possibly to get back to the kid she left in the box of shame, as Laura gets pissed off and ends up turning invisible. So you know what that means? Wacky hijinks!
I'm laughing, but it's a laugh of impatience. Show the movie.
What the devil's gotten into you?
I don't know. I can't control myself.
It's not a good idea to tick off my mom.
You know, maybe you should see a doctor before thinking about adopting a boy.
I am fine.
I don't know. You said yes to Invisible Mom too. There's clearly something wrong with you. As they take Eddie away, Josh sneaks into the car, hiding between the seats, with a jacket. Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Things instantly change from day to night again, for no reason, as we get a scene that may have been lifted from the Piranha movies.
Hello, fishy, fishy, fishy. Time for din-din. Oh, lovely, aren't they? They get so testy when they have to wait.
This will be one of your chores.
Cool.
And will that have anything to do with the rest of the movie? No. Does lead me to wonder why Uncle Randolph was keeping something that could possibly be illegal outside in a fountain. The dumbass duo show Eddie to his room and begin to tell him about ghosts in the house, as the writer's short-term memory appears to have gone again, thus forgetting the other already established ways they were going to kill him. Or is it that they're playing a game of Wheel of Murder? Wheel of Murder, turn, turn, turn. Will he be strangled or will he be burned? Josh overhears Olivia and Bernard talking about murdering Eddie, and yet remains nonchalant about the whole thing.
Operation Scared to Death can start at any time. If this works, he'll fall over the railing and break his little neck on the foyer floor.
Yeah, murder, no big deal. I've already strangled a few kittens myself. Oh my god, they really have started to sing the Money song from Tom and Jerry. Moving on, we go to the police station to meet two more characters who will have little to no effect on the movie. Will Wheaton and Lieutenant Bookman.
Hippies burning library cards. Abby Huffman telling everybody to steal books. I don't judge a man by the length of his hair or the kind of music he listens to. Rock was never my bag. But you put on a pair of shoes when you walk into the New York Public Library, fella.
Mrs. Chandler appears to alert the cops to the screams that she heard earlier, and then leaves to never be heard from again. Which makes me wonder if she fell into the Piranha fountain by mistake. But here's the question. What was the point of her being in the film? Are you telling me that there was no other way to have these two cops introduced? And it's not like they really do much anyway for the rest of the movie. The one other time we see them before the end, they're just sitting around complaining about their jobs.
Your first day in the precinct and you've already schmoozed the richest crackpot in town. Good going, kid.
Yeah, but I wasn't schmoozing. Get your coat. We're going to check it out.
You want to try that again? Maybe with a little less...
No surprise! So you're wrong, Mr. Nelson!
And this is where we have to stop because we are halfway through the movie. There's a lot more stupid to come. And I need some time to prepare.